In this video, I'll show you how to build an AI voice assistant with Python. This assistant will have agent capabilities, which means it will be able to interact with a database, call Python functions, and really do anything that you want. Now, after we build the AI voice assistant, which actually won't take that long, I'll show you how to integrate it into your own custom front end so you can see how to interact with this in the real world. This is super cool. I guarantee you're going to learn a ton, and you'll see how simple it is to actually make these agents, even if you're not a complete AI expert. With that in mind, let me give you a quick demo of what we're going to build, and then we'll dive into the tutorial and I'll walk you through it step by step. So what I did is I just made a really simple landing page for something like a car call center, right? Where maybe you need to call in if you want to schedule a service appointment or if you need to do an oil change or whatever it might be. And typically for these type of places, you're going to talk to someone, whether that be on the phone, and you have to go through all the AI messaging where you have to give like the VIN of your car, the date of the appointment, all that kind of stuff. So I wanted to show you how you could automate that using an AI voice assistant. So let's have a look. So there's this button here that says talk to an agent. If I do this, I can enter my name and then I can connect into this kind of AI voice assistant system, and I'll show you how it works. So let's do this.
Welcome to our auto service center. For us to assist you further, could you please provide the VIN of your vehicle? If you don't have a profile with us yet, just let me know and we can create one for you.
Okay, so here it's asking me for the VIN. Typically, again, when you go through these systems, it needs to look up some kind of profile. You need to have the information on the car. So what I'll do is I will tell it to make a new profile as if I don't have one. Hey, can I make a new profile, please? I don't have a VIN on file.
Of course. To create a new profile, I'll need some information about your vehicle. Could you please provide the make, model, and year of your car?
Sure, this is a Jeep Wrangler 2025 and the VIN is V123.
Your new profile has been created for your 2025 Jeep Wrangler. How can I assist you further today?
Can I schedule a service appointment for this, please?
I'll transfer you to our scheduling department to book your service appointment for your Jeep Wrangler. Please hold for a moment while I connect you.
Perfect. So that's exactly what I wanted it to do here. Now, look, there's obviously a lot more functionality that this has, but the idea is this is actually able to interact with the database. So when it's said, can you give me this information about the car? The reason why it's doing that is it's actually going to save this in the database. So the next time if I were to come back to this, it would already have that profile saved based on my VIN, and it would be able to look up the car information, and then we could forward that over to the scheduling department or whatever department it is that we need to go to. And they already have all of the data that they need to then assist us with booking an appointment or whatever it is that we want to do. I didn't build out a ton of features here. I wanted to keep it minimalistic so that you guys can extend it to what you actually need. But I promise you in this video, you're going to learn a lot about how this works, and you'll understand how to change this to your own custom situation or whatever it is that you want to build out, because I know a lot of you probably aren't going to build this exact example. So with that in mind, let's get into the tutorial. Let me show you how you build something like this. The first half will be more about building the agent, and then the rest of it will be actually integrating this into the front end. So let's begin here by learning a little bit about the framework / technology we're going to be using in order to build out this project. Now, what I'm going to be using for this video is LiveKit. Now, they are the sponsor of this video, and I've worked with them in the past, and you guys really enjoyed that other video we did, which is why we teamed up again. Now, they are open source. They're completely free. You do not need to pay for them, at least if you're just using it in a tutorial setting here. And they are actually what's used by a ton of massive companies, including OpenAI. So if you've ever used OpenAI's voice mode before, that's actually powered by LiveKit. And the reason why they use LiveKit is because this is really the best in the business when it comes to doing ultra low latency transportation of voice, video, audio data, all of that kind of stuff. So what you can do with LiveKit is obviously build real-time AI systems like we're going to be doing here with the ultra low latency voice assistant, but you can also do video conferencing, you can have audio conferencing apps, you can do all kinds of really interesting stuff here. And if you want to check them out again, do it from the link in the description. But in this video, I'm going to be focused on the voice assistant agent, but of course this has a lot of other functionality. So anyways, in order to get started with LiveKit here, what we're going to do is just make a new account. Again, it's free. You do not need to pay for this. And the nice thing about LiveKit is that if you don't even want to use their self-hosted options, you can actually host the LiveKit server completely on your own. So if you do build this out and you decide that you want to deploy it, you're not tied into this kind of environment or this pricing model. You can just go and deploy it by yourself. But obviously obviously it's easier if you just use the LiveKit kind of self-hosted environment. So what I'm going to do is go to cloud.livekit.io. It's going to bring me into my account because I already have one. But if you don't have an account, please just go ahead and create one. And then what we're going to do is make a new LiveKit project. And from there, it'll be very straightforward to get started. So what I'm going to do is go to the bottom here and just press on create new project. You can see I already have some spun up here. I'll give this a name. I'm just going to call this car service center or something like that. Okay, create project, and then I'll tell you where to go from there. All right, so I'm here in the project here, and honestly, there's nothing that we need to do to set this up other than to just get access to a few of the API keys that we'll use to connect to the LiveKit server. Now, before we go through that, I will just mention that if you do want to mess around with this on your own, they have a bunch of great quick start guides and agent guides, and that's what I followed in order to build out the code that you're going to see me write. So if you want, you can just read the documentation directly, but obviously, walking through the video, I'm going to explain some more concepts that aren't in there. Okay, so that's pretty much it. What we're going to do next is we're going to open up a code editor. So in my case, I'm using VS Code, and I'm just going to start by making a .env file here where I'm going to paste in some of the keys that I'll need in order to connect to my LiveKit project. So let's just get that out of the way right now, and then I'll talk about the architecture and what to expect when we build this out. So in order to get the keys for our project, we're just going to go to settings, and we're going to go to keys. Now, for keys, what we'll do is we'll just press create new key. I'm just going to give this a name. So I'll just say this is my Windows machine. You can call it anything that you want. And then what this is going to do is give you an API key, a secret, and a WebSocket URL. For now, we'll just copy all of them. So let me just split my terminal here. 1 second. Let me get this guy open over here. First environment variable that we're going to have is going to be the LiveKit URL. So we're just going to copy this WebSocket URL here for the LiveKit URL. Let me just make this a little bit larger. Next, we're going to have our LiveKit API key. So we're going to say LiveKit underscore API underscore key is equal to, and then same thing, copy the API key. Obviously, you don't want to leak these. I'll leak them to you now, and I'll just delete them after. And then we're going to go LiveKit underscore secret underscore key is equal to, and then this. Okay, so make sure you copy those correctly into these variables because obviously we'll need those in order to connect to LiveKit. Okay, now that we have those, the only other thing that we're going to need to continue with this project is an OpenAI API key. Now, actually, you can use any AI provider that you want with LiveKit, or at least there's a lot of different options. For example, you could use Ollama, and you can run this locally on your own computer, but it's just a lot easier to use OpenAI. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say OpenAI underscore API underscore key is equal to this, and I'm going to go and get my OpenAI API key. Now, in order to do that, we can go to platform.openai.com/API keys. I will leave this link in the description. I believe you will need a credit card on file in order to do this, but it should be free, or it should cost you just a few cents. Now, again, if you don't want to use this, you can look in LiveKit, and there's a lot of other options for the AI models. Again, OpenAI is just going to be the easiest and the fastest in this case for us. So what I'm going to do is make a new key. So create new secret key. We'll just call this LiveKit car service or something. Okay, let's create that key, and then we'll copy it into our project. So I'm going to copy it here in that environment variable file. Perfect. Let me get out of that. And now we will go back to VS Code and we will start writing some code. But first, actually, I want to explain to you the architecture and kind of design of how LiveKit works. So I've got the LiveKit documentation opened up, and I just want to show you this diagram here and explain to you what's actually going to go on in terms of the flow of data here. You don't have to understand it fully, but I think it's a good idea before we go much further. So what we're going to be focused on building right now is this agent, okay? So you'd see where it says your backend, and then it says agent. This is what we're going to build. Now, this agent will connect to the LiveKit cloud, and that will be connected to our various clients. So essentially what will happen is we'll have some client, whether it's a website, whether it's our phone, whatever, right? They will connect to the LiveKit cloud, and when they do that, they're going to open up a new room. Now, immediately when this room is created, our agent will join that room and then start communicating with the client. Now, that communication will happen through WebRTC, which will be facilitated through the LiveKit cloud. This means we don't need to deal with all of these transfer protocols and sending the data back and forth. LiveKit does that for us. We essentially just define what we want the behavior of our agent to be, and then everything is taken care of by LiveKit. Now, obviously, our agent will also connect to OpenAI. In this case, we're going to use something that's relatively new, which is the real-time API, which allows us to have extremely low latency in the responses. And as you saw, it was very, very, very fast. It's actually insane how fast it is. It's because we're using this new real-time API feature. Now, there are some other different things, again, you can build here with LiveKit, but in our case, we're going to do the OpenAI real-time API. So this documentation I will link in the description, and you can read through it if you want to understand it more, but that's the basic architecture. We design our agent, some client joins the kind of LiveKit session, and then our agent will join the room with that client, start communicating with them, and all of that happens through WebRTC, which is facilitated by LiveKit Cloud, which is very, very fast. Now, one thing to note is that you can have multiple agents running at the same time and joining multiple rooms. So again, LiveKit Cloud will handle that concurrency for you, and you can have multiple rooms at the same time, which means your agent can be talking to multiple people and have different sessions or kind of conversation chains going on. Hopefully that makes a little bit of sense, but with that in mind, let's start building this out. Okay, so in order to get started here, we're going to create a requirements.txt file, and I'm just going to list the various requirements that we need in order to actually work with LiveKit. Okay, so we're going to start listing them out, and all of this code will be available from the link in the description. There's be a GitHub there in case you just want to copy it in. So first we're going to have LiveKit agents, then we're going to have the LiveKit plugins, if we can spell this correctly, dash OpenAI. Then we're going to have the LiveKit dash plugins dash Celero. This will be used for voice activity detection. We're going to have python.env. This is going to be used for loading our environment variable. We're going to have the LiveKit API, which we're going to use later on in the video. And then we're going to have some dependencies related to Flask. So we're going to have Flask async. We're going to have normal Flask. We're going to have Flask cores. And we're going to have Uvicorn for running our Flask server. Now, the last 5 dependencies that you see here will be used later in the video for handling authorization and issuing tokens to our front end in order to connect securely to the LiveKit cloud. Again, you'll see how that works later, but for now, we're just going to be focusing on these, but I just figured we put them all in one file so that we can install them all at once. Okay, so now that we have that, what we're going to do is create a virtual environment, and then we're going to install those dependencies. Now, you don't need to make a virtual environment, but I would recommend that you do just to separate out the dependencies. So to do that, I'm going to type python-m venv, and then I'm going to give the virtual environment a name, and in my case, I'm going to call it AI. Now, if you're on Mac or Linux, you can change this command to Python 3, and then when we run this, it should create the virtual environment for us, and then next we can activate it. Now, this will just, again, separate the dependencies for us. So what I'm going to do now to activate the virtual environment is type /AI/scripts/activate. Now you should do this in PowerShell if you're on Windows, and this will then activate the virtual environment for you. However, if you're on Mac or Linux, your command will be like this: source and then ./AI/bin, and then it should be /activate like that. It's just different if you're on Mac or Linux compared to Windows. So now that you have the virtual environment activated, what we want to do is install the dependencies. So we're going to type pip install -r and then requirements.txt. This should install all of the requirements we listed in that file in our virtual environment. So then we're able to use them in the project, and then we can start writing some code. All right, so all of that is finished, and now we're going to start building out the agent. So what I'm going to do is make a few different files. I'm going to make a file called agent.py. This will be the entry point script. I'm going to make a file called api.py. This is going to specify some of the tools that our agent will be able to use. I'm going to make a file called the database driver.py, which will handle managing our database and connecting to that for things like our vehicle information. And then I'm going to make one more called prompts.py, which will have some of the prompts that we'll use for our AI agent. Okay, so I'm not going to write all of this completely from scratch, but we will with the agent file at least. So for our agent file, this is going to be kind of what handles actually creating the AI agent, the voice assistant, which will connect to LiveKit. So to do that, we're going to need a few different imports. So we're going to start here, and we're going to say from __future _ import annotations. Then we're going to say from LiveKit.agents import, and we're going to import the following dependencies, which is going to be auto subscribe, job context, the worker options, the CLI, and the LLM. We're then going to say from LiveKit.agents.multimodal import the multimodal agent. Okay. We're then going to say from LiveKit.plugins import OpenAI, and we're going to say from .env import load.env. We're then going to say import OS. Okay, so that's all we need for now. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to load our environment variable file. So we're going to say load.env. This will simply load the .env file in this current directory, and then we'll be able to access those various keys that we need for LiveKit. Okay, perfect. So now that we've done that, what we're going to do is start defining some functions that we'll need to use. So we're going to define an async function, and we're just going to call this the entry point. Okay, then we're going to take in some context, and this is going to be some job context from LiveKit. The first thing that we're going to do inside of this file is we're going to wait to connect to LiveKit. So to do that, we're going to say await ctx.connect, and we're going to say auto subscribe is equal to auto subscribe.subscribe all. Okay, if you hover over this, you can see exactly what it's doing, but this is going to connect to a LiveKit room, and we're going to subscribe to all of the various tracks that we have. So that will be the video track, the audio track, and the text track in that room. Because again, LiveKit can handle multimodal, so not just voice, it can handle video, it can handle text as well. And you can see if I go over here, it says whether to automatically subscribe to tracks, the default is to subscribe to all, which is what we're doing. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to say await ctx dot, and this is wait for participant. So this pretty much means we're going to wait to get the identity of the current participant and just make sure that they're in the room before we start talking to them, obviously. Okay, next thing we're going to do is we're going to define the model that we want to use. So we're going to say model is equal to OpenAI.realtime.the real-time model. Now, there's a lot of different models you can use here. In our case, we're just using the OpenAI one, right? Now, for the real-time model, what we need to pass to it is some instructions. This is essentially what we want it to act as. We can give it some kind of system prompt or something, right? So it knows how it should be communicating with the user. We then can define the voice. Notice there's a bunch of different options here. I'm going to go with the shimmer, but you can choose really whatever you want if you want a different style of voice. Then we can define the temperature of the model. So I'm going to go with something like 0.8. And then we can define the modalities. So essentially what type of medium we want it to work with. Now in this case, I'm going to provide audio and text so that it will give us voice, and it will also generate the text associated with that voice. Okay, now after we've done that, what we can do is we can actually create an assistant that's attached to this model. So if you've ever worked with AI agents before, you know that essentially what you do is you give an AI model access to various tools that it can call and that it can utilize during its invocation, right? So when you actually ask the AI model something, it can go and look at the various tools it has access to and then use those tools according to what the user requested, right? Or whatever it thinks it should be using. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a class that will contain all of the different tools that this AI agent will be able to use. Now, those are the tools related to interacting with our database, looking up a car based on its VIN, creating a new profile. It could be scheduling a meeting, could be calling an API. You can do anything you want with the tools here, and I'll show you how to get that started. So what we're going to do is go into our API file, and this is where we're going to define our tools. Now, I'm just going to stub out what the tool class will look like for right now so we can actually test the AI agent, but then later we'll write them all out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say from LiveKit.agents import LLM. Then I'm simply going to say class assistant and then FNC, standing for function. And then I'm going to inherit from LLM dot and then the function context, okay? Then all I'm going to do inside of here for now is I'm going to define a simple initialization. I'm going to take in self, and then I'm going to say super dot underscore underscore init underscore underscore and just call the parent constructor. Later on, we'll write the rest of this class body and we'll define some functions that will act as tools that the AI agent can use. But for now, we just need this in order to invoke the AI agent. Okay, so now that we have that, we're just going to import this assistant function. So I'm going to say from, and then we call this API, import the assistant function. Now, beneath our model, we're just going to create a new instance of this. So we're going to say the assistant, and did I spell that correctly? I'm not sure if I did. Let's see. Assistant, there you go, is equal to, and then this is going to be the assistant function. I think I spelled that one correctly. Let's just make sure. I'm just going to call this so that we create a new instance of it. And then I'm going to say my assistant is equal, and sorry, this needs to be assistant underscore FNC. I'm going to say my assistant is equal to a multimodal agent. We're going to say the model is equal to the model that we defined. And we're going to say the function context is equal to the assistant function. Okay, so again, what we're doing is we're making an agent now. This agent will use this model. That's where most of the logic comes from. And then we're providing a set of tools which are provided inside of this class that this agent will be able to interact with. Sweet. So now that we have that, what we're able to do is we're able to actually start the assistant and connect it to the room. So we can say assistant.start, and then we can provide the room. So we can say ctx.room. So what we did up here is we waited to connect into this room and for the participant to join. We then created a new AI assistant, and then we said that the AI assistant will now join the room. So now the AI assistant joins the room and it can start interacting with the participant. Sweet. Now what we need to do is we need to tell the AI assistant to do something. So maybe to talk to the user or to greet them. So to do that, we can say session is equal to model.sessions, and we'll just grab the first session that we have, and then we're going to make a new conversation item. I'll talk about how this works in a second, but let's type it out. We're going to say session.conversation.item.create, and then we're going to make a new LLM chat message. This message is going to have a role equal to assistant, and we are going to have the content equal to, and then we're going to provide the content here in 1 second. Now, all we're doing is we're just adding a new chat message into kind of the context or the current session. And then after we add that chat message, what we can tell the assistant to do is respond to that message. So now I'm going to say session.response.create. And what it will do is it will read this conversation item and it will then generate a response. And that response will be voice, right? Will be text as well. And it will actually speak out to us and, well, say what it said. So that's that. So now that we have that, we actually have a functioning AI assistant. I'm going to show you how we test it in just 1 second, but we of course need to call this entry point function. So to do that, we're just going to use the classic if underscore underscore name is equal to underscore underscore main underscore underscore. Then we're going to say CLI.run app, and we are going to use these worker options here, and we're going to pass the entry point function as our entry point. Okay, don't worry too much about this. What this is going to do is it's essentially going to run this entry point function asynchronously for us, and then we will automatically connect to our LiveKit cloud. The reason why this will work is because we've provided these values in our environment variable file, and these are the values that are being looked for by LiveKit in order to make the connection. So make sure that you name these environment variables exactly what I have here. You need all 4 of them for this code to work, and then they'll automatically be searched for LiveKit. We'll connect to the LiveKit cloud, and then we can handle any of the clients that are connecting here and add our AI voice assistant into the room. So you can see this is very straightforward. And what will happen now once we run this code is we'll wait for someone to connect. Once someone connects, then we will run this entry point function, and then we will generate a response, and we'll just say one thing to the user. Okay, so last thing we need to do is just write these prompts. We need the instructions and we need the content. So let's go inside of our prompts.py here, and let's just copy in these prompts. I don't want to spend too much time writing them, so I'm just going to copy them in here. You can change them to be anything that you want, and you can copy them from that link in the description. So first one, you're manager of a call center, you're speaking to a customer, blah, blah, blah. And then the welcome messages begin by welcoming the user and ask them to provide the VIN of their vehicle. Again, adjust this to whatever your situation is. Okay, so now we need to import these and use them. So I'm going to say import, or I'm going to say from prompts, and then we're going to say import the welcome message, and what do we call the other one? The instructions. Okay, and then I'm just going to plug in the variables. So this will be instructions, and this here will be the welcome message. Perfect. Now that we have that, we're actually good to go ahead and run this, and then I'll show you that LiveKit actually has a playground that we can use in order to test this agent before we start integrating it with our front end. So I'm going to bring up my terminal here, and I'm simply going to type Python, then name my file, which is agent.py, and then dev. Okay, dev is how you run this in development mode. So I'm going to hit enter. We're going to run this. We're going to see if we get any errors, and it looks like we maybe spelled something incorrectly. So it said add LiveKit API secret in your environment. So it's possible that I just spelt secret wrong here. So let me just paste this here. And yes, I did. Okay, so it should be LiveKit API secret. You can see it's telling me that error other than whatever I had there. So let's change that to LiveKit API secret. Apologies about that, guys. And let's rerun this. So we can see now that this is running, and the next step is obviously to test this. Now, in order to test this without writing our own custom front end, LiveKit actually provides something called the Agents Playground. So what I can do is just search in my, web browser here, LiveKit Agent Playground. I'll leave a link to this in the description. And if we click into this here, it will actually allow us to connect to our project and start interacting with the agent. So you may need to sign in with LiveKit, but I believe my credentials are already here, so I'm able to get access to it. And then what I can do is just click on the car service center, which is my current project, go connect, and we'll be able to mess around and hear our agent ideally. So I'm going to be quiet now so we can hear this.
Thank you for choosing our Auto Service Center. To assist you better, could you please provide the VIN of your vehicle? If you'd like to create a new profile, just say Create Profile.
I don't have a VIN.
No problem at all. Let's create a new profile for you. Could you please provide your name, phone number, and email address to get started?
Tim1234tim@gmail.com.
Thank you, Tim. Your new profile is now created. How can I assist you with your vehicle in...
Okay, so that's that. I'm just going to mute my mic and disconnect here. You can see that this is working. Now, obviously, it's just kind of making up replies after this point because we don't have any logic for what we wanted to do. But you see that, there you go, it worked, right? We connected and it was able to respond to our messages. And actually, it did keep going and give us some conversation, but just not in the kind of format that we would have liked. So that's how we test it. I'm going to leave this page open. I can always reconnect by just pressing connect here, and then you can see the agent will connect. Now, if you have issues with the agent connecting, just make sure your keys are all correct. I know a lot of people were having issues with this in the previous video, and I believe it's because they weren't using the correct environment variables. Anyways, at this point, I'll assume that you were able to connect. Again, really the only thing that could go wrong is your code for some reason has a mistake. It doesn't match what I've written here. And again, you can copy this from the link in the description, or you just don't have the correct environment variables there. So just make sure that you double, triple check those, because I know personally I had some issues with them because I just had the wrong values in the wrong slots. Silly mistake, but it happens. Okay, so now that we have this, what I want to do is I want to start providing some tools that my agent can use. I want it to be able to actually save VINs or look up VINs or create a new profile. In order to do that, I'm going to write this database driver file. Now I'm just going to copy in the code here. Again, you can find this from the GitHub linked in the description. The reason being, I don't want to waste your time writing a bunch of database related code, but I will walk through it so you can understand what it's doing and how this works. Okay, so for my database driver, I'm just copying this in. So it's 60 lines of code, and this connects to a SQLite 3 local database. Now you can use any database you want. You can use MongoDB, you can use a JSON file, you can use an in-memory database. It doesn't matter. I'm just doing a quick example here so you can see how we kind of interact with data with our model. And you can even use something like retrieval augmented generation if you wanted to. I'm just not going that far in this video. Okay, so you can see that I bring in my SQLite 3 package, okay? I have all of this other stuff, data class, context lib, all this stuff. I create a data class with my VIN, make, model, and year. This is just representing the information that I want to store in my database. I create a new database driver class. I take in the database path, so where I actually want to save this, and then I just initialize the database. Now, initializing the database is right here, where what it's going to do is create a new table for me in SQLite with my VIN, make, model, and year if it doesn't already exist. Okay? That's it. Then I have this get connection. This is a context manager, which is simply going to yield the current connection to our SQLite database. So we don't constantly keep reconnecting to this if we don't have to. Okay, sweet. Going down here, I then create two functions, create car and get car by VIN. This is really all that I need. I need the ability to make a new car, and I need the ability to get one based on its VIN. If you wanted to do something like delete a car, or you wanted to look up multiple cars, or you wanted more operations, of course, you could write them in here. I just kept it nice and simple. To create a car, we take in the VIN, make, model, and year, and then we are going to return a new car. And what we do is we just get the connection, we get the cursor, we insert into the database this information, we commit that, and then we just return the car so we can then use it. Right, same thing here with get car by VIN. We get the connection. This time we just search for a particular VIN, which should be a unique field. We fetch that value. If it doesn't exist, we return none. Otherwise, we return the information about the car. Again, you can copy this from the link in the description if you want to use this exact code. Okay, so there we go. We have our database driver. And what I need to do is I need to connect the database driver to my API file. So what I have to do is I have to make functions that my LLM is able to call inside of this class. And then in those functions, I can do literally anything that I want. So I'm just going to start with some imports here. And I'm going to say import enum. I'm going to import my typing, or I'm going to say actually from typing, if we can spell this correctly, import annotated. And then I'm going to say import logging, just so I can print some stuff out. And then I'm going to say from my database driver, import my database driver. Okay, now first thing first, I'm going to set up my logging. So I'm going to say logger is equal to logging.get logger. And I'm just going to give this a name, and I'll just call this user-data. Then I'm going to say logger.setLevel, and I'm just going to set this to the logging.info level, so I can just display some kind of information in my terminal when we start using these functions. You can see that they are indeed working. I'm then going to make a new database instance. So I'm going to say db is equal to database driver, and then I'm going to make a simple car, which just defines kind of an enum for the different fields in my car class. So I'm going to say class car details, and this is going to be an enum. .enum, you'll see why we need this in 1 second. I'm going to say vin is equal to vin. I'm going to say make is equal to make. I'm going to say model is equal to model. And I'm going to say year is equal to year. You might be wondering why we need this. Again, just wait 1 second. It's so that we can annotate what should be passed to these functions by using this Python enum. It's important that when you write these functions, you do all of the typing for them in Python so that the model knows what values to pass for the various parameters to these functions when it starts using it as a tool. Okay. Now, what we're going to do pretty much inside of this assistant function is we're going to store some context. Now, that context is going to be the car that the user is talking about. The idea is that whenever you call something like a call service center or a car service center, you first need to know what car you're talking about, right? Unless you're buying something. So it's either a car that already exists, that you've been there before, or it's a new profile. So we want to store what car the user is currently discussing so that the LLM has that context and information, and it can use it throughout the discussion. So I'm going to say self.car_details is equal to this. Now, the reason why I start this with an underscore is so that I make it a private member in Python. It's not actually private because you can still access these values, but it's a convention that you use if you don't want something to access this or change it. So again, it's not truly private, but it's a convention in Python so that something outside of the class doesn't try to modify this attribute. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm simply going to say car details dot vin, and then this is going to be an empty string. Now notice I'm using the enum, and the reason I'm using my enum is so that the model is always going to know what field it should be using or the name of the field when it's trying to access values in my class. Again, you'll see this in a second, but just bear with me. So I'm going to say car details.vin. I'm then going to say car details.make is equal to an empty string. I'm going to say car details.model is equal to an empty string. And I'm going to say car details.year is equal to an empty string, and these will all be filled in later. Okay, so this is some kind of general context that I want to store here, and you can store anything that you want. And then beneath this, I'm going to make a few functions that will act as the tools that the LLM can use. Now, in order to do that, you need to decorate the function with this LLM_AI callable, and then you need to provide a quick description of what this function does and when it should be called. So I'm just going to say lookup a car by its VIN. Okay, then I'm going to define lookup_car as my function name. It's going to take in self, and it's going to take in a parameter, and that parameter is going to be a VIN. Now for the VIN, I need to specify what the type of this will be. Now I'm going to say this is annotated. It will be a string, and it will be LLM.typeInfo. Okay, and then it's going to say description is equal to the VIN of the car to look up. Okay, so let's spell lookup correctly. Great, and then I'm going to put a colon, and then I'm going to start writing my function. Now let me just make this a little bit larger so you guys can see it. So this is how you're going to write all of your different tools. You're going to start with this at LLM.AI callable. You give a description. This will be read by the model to determine if it should use this function or not. You then provide the parameters. You don't need to provide any type annotation for self because that's implicit. But for any other parameters you add, you need to define what they should be so that the model knows how to call them. So I'm using this annotated thing, which allows me to say, hey, this is of type string, and here's some extra information about this parameter so the model knows what it should use here. So we're just describing, hey, this is the VIN of the car that needs to be looked up. If you had a more complex parameter, obviously that would become more important. Okay, now right away, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to say logger.info, and I'm just going to say lookup car, okay, and then I'm going to say VIN is equal to % and then S, And then I'm just going to pass the VIN here, just so that we have some output and we can see what the model's actually using to look up the car when it calls this function. So just some kind of basic debugging, essentially. Then I'm going to use my database to look up the car. So I'm going to say result is equal to db.getCarByVin. I'm going to take in my VIN. I'm going to say if result is none, then we're just going to return car not found. Okay. Otherwise, we're going to set our car details. So we're going to say self._car details is equal to, and now we're going to write our field. So I'm actually going to copy this. Okay. And we're going to specify our VIN, make, and model. So I'm going to say result.VIN, what is this? Make, result.model, and result.year. Obviously, we can store more information, but for now, that's totally fine. So what we're doing is we're looking in the database for this car based on the VIN that was passed by the AI model. If we don't find one, we say not found. Otherwise, we set the context, and then we're just going to convert this into a string and return it to the model. So we're going to say car_string is equal to an empty string. We're going to say for key, comma value in self._, let's do this, _car details dot items. Then we're going to say the car_string plus equal to, and we're just going to convert this to a string. So we're going to say key :value and then \n. And then we are going to, this value needs to be inside of a set of braces. Then we're going to return an f string, and we're going to say the car details are, and then we're going to pass the car string. Okay, so the reason why I'm doing this is I just want to give a string back to the model so I can tell it, hey, here are the car details that you found, and then just give it all of this information rather than trying to return it in a Python dictionary that could be problematic. Now, I'm just going to make a quick method that will just do this for us because we will use this later on. So up here, I'm just going to say define, and I'm going to say, let's go get car string. We will take in self, and then all we're going to do is just copy this right here. Okay. And we're going to do this. And then we're going to say return car string. And then I'm going to go here and I'm just going to use the self.getCarString. Self.getCarString like that. So now this is inside of here and it's a little bit more reusable. Okay, great. So we have this first method now that allows us to look up a car. What I'm going to do is I am going to copy this, at least the function definition. And I'm going to write a same thing now for creating a car. So rather than looking up a car, we're just going to go with create car. Now for the description, we're going to say create a new car. Okay, that's really all we need. And for creating a car, we're going to need a VIN, a make, a model, and a year. So let's make this a little bit easier to read. Okay, and let's start defining the different parameters. So I'm just going to copy this a bunch of times because I don't want to have to keep writing this. Okay, one more time. And we're going to change this to make, model, and year. And to make this a little bit easier to read, let's go back here. Let's shift tab this back. And let's put our parentheses in the correct place. Okay, so now for the make, this will be a string. Okay, and rather than the VIN of the car, we're going to say the make of the car. And I can remove this to lookup thing. Okay, and just keep changing these and adjusting them to be correct. Okay, so now for the model, we'll say the model of the car, and then this will be the year of the car. And for the year, we're going to change this to be an int, not a string. Okay, perfect. So now we have our parameters, self, VIN, make, model, year. That's what we need. Now we're going to log the information that was passed. We're going to say logger.info. We're going to say create car. And then we're just going to pass the details so we can see what they are. So we're going to say VIN %s. We're going to say make %s. We're going to say model %s. And then year %s. And then we're going to pass these values in order. So we'll say VIN, make, model, and year. Okay, great. Now we just need to make a car. So what we're going to do is say result is equal to db.createCar, and we'll pass the VIN, make, model, and year. And then we're going to say if the result is none, so if there's some kind of issue here, we're just going to return failed to create car. Otherwise, we're going to set these details. So I'm just going to copy this here and paste this here because it's going to be the exact same thing. So we're just going to grab the result and set it. And then we can just return a string that says car created. Perfect. Okay, now we're just going to write two more methods. One more method I'm going to have is just going to be an internal one, or I guess external, but it's not going to be one called by the LLM. I'm going to say define has car self, and all I'm going to do is say return self._car details, and I'm going to look at the car details.vin field, and I'm just going to see if this is empty or not. So if this field is not equal to an empty string, it means we do currently have a car, which is something we want to know in order to change what the model is asking the user. Okay, and then last thing, we're just going to have this get car details function. So I'm just going to copy this again. I'm going to say at LLM AI callable, rather than create car, this is going to be get car_details, which is a method that the LLM can use to get the details of the car that it's currently talking about. And all we're going to do is say return and then an F string, and we're going to say the car details are, and then we're going to say self.get car string like that. And for the description, I am simply going to write here, get the details of the current car, meaning the car that we're currently discussing. And then last thing, we're just going to log a message so we can see if this is being called. We're going to say logger.info, and then this is going to be get car details. Okay, let me zoom out a little bit so we can read this a little bit easier, and we'll just go through what we wrote. So we imported all of this stuff, we created the logger, we use the database driver, we define our car details enum, and then we start writing things like the initialization, where we're going to store some context about the current car that we're looking at. We have a method to get the current car string. So this just looks at these details, converts it to a string for us. We then have this lookup car, which can be used by the LLM. This will take in a VIN, which is a string, and simply look for that in the database. Now, let's just quickly, for a sanity check here, make sure that the VIN in the database is actually a string. So I'm going to go to my database driver and VIN text primary. Okay, good. Just wanted to make sure that it wasn't an integer. Otherwise, that could potentially be problematic. Okay, continuing here. We then have, this to look up the VIN. That's what we looked at. We have another one just to get the current car details. We have one to create a car, which takes in all of the different parameters that we need. And then lastly, one just to tell us if we currently have car details. So if we already have selected a car, or we have a profile already kind of pre-selected. Okay, great. So now that we have that, this allows our agent to simply use this. So because we provided the assistant function here to the multimodal agent, it can just go ahead and use any of this functionality. So if we go and test this now, it should just be able to create a new entry in the database, for example, or look something up. So let's rerun our code here. And let's go back to our agent playground. And let's just test this out and see if it works. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to go to connect. Let's give this a second. I'm going to shut off my camera and let's see what it says.
Welcome to our auto service center. Could you please provide the VIN, vehicle identification number of your car? If you don't have a profile yet, just let me know, and we can create one for you.
The VIN is 12345.
It seems we don't have a profile for this VIN in our system. Would you like to create a new profile for your vehicle? If so, please provide the make, model, and year of the car.
Okay, hopefully you guys can hear that all right, but obviously you can read the text as well. Let's go back to VS Code and let's just make sure that it actually is using this. So as we can see here, if we scroll through, we should be able to see some logging messages, although maybe we didn't set up the logger correctly. Let's see here. So it says conversation item created, but I don't see the logs related to it calling the function. Although maybe, I'm just going to scroll through here and see if I can find this. So I did find it here actually. It says user data, and you can see that it did actually indeed look up the car. And then this is the VIN that it used to look up. So obviously that's not correct for looking it up. So that's a mistake there. But you get the idea. It did call the function. So I'm going to mess with this a little bit more. I just want to make sure that it does call the function correctly. So let's go back here to this and let's ask it something else. Can you make a new profile for me for a Jeep Wrangler 2024 with VIN 12345?
Your profile has been successfully created for your Jeep Wrangler 2024. How can I assist you further with your vehicle today?
So we can see that it has Jeep Wrangler 2024, but it's using a random VIN. So I don't know why it's using this, probably because the VIN I'm giving it is invalid. So maybe if I did read out a proper VIN that is the correct number of characters, it will use that one. But for now, this is fine. We can proceed. But obviously, that's something we would want to check and look through because that's not the VIN that I was telling it. So for now, let's proceed with the next steps, and then we can deal with the incorrect VIN later on. I don't want to spend too much time on it this second. Okay, so now that we've got this, essentially what I want to do is I want to change the agent's behavior based on if we have a VIN or not. So if we have a VIN already, then I don't want to ask the user to provide a VIN again, right? I want to allow it to move on to kind of the next step. And a lot of times when you have these voice assistants, you have like a tree-like flow that you want to go through, right? Where after you ask this question, you want to ask that question. After this question's asked, you want to ask the next question. You get the idea. So what we're going to do is we're going to use an event handler here from LiveKit so we can hook into what the agent does based on a specific response that's received from the user. So I'm going to say @session.on, and then I'm going to use the event user and then speech _ committed. Okay, and I believe I spelled that correctly. Now, there's a bunch of other events that you can hook into, but this is one where the user has finished talking. Once they finish talking, then the function that we write here will trigger. So I'm going to say define on _ user _ speech _ committed. And then what we're going to take in here is a message, which is an LLM.chat message. Okay. Now, inside of this function, what we're going to do is just look at the message, and we're first going to convert it into a string in case it is a list, because sometimes the message will come in as a list, so multiple strings, and then we want to combine those together. So we're going to say if is instance message.content and then list. Then all we're going to do is say message.content. Okay, and we're going to say this is equal to \n and then .join. And we're going to join the following. We're going to say in square brackets, image if is instance, and then this is going to be x LLM.chat image, and this is with a capital. You'll see how this works in 1 second. And then this is going to be else x for x in message. Now, all this is doing is we're just going to replace whatever the message is, which in this case is X, with this image if it's an image. So you can actually send images here to this LLM, right? Like you can have video, you can have image data. So all we're doing is we're looking through the message. We're saying, okay, if it's an image, then we're just going to put the string image here because we're not able to process the image how we're currently doing this. Otherwise, we'll just take whatever the string message was, and we'll just combine those with new line characters as our message content. Hopefully that's clear, but we're just adjusting the message content to essentially strip out the images and combine all of the individual string messages together. All right, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to check if we currently have a car. So if we've either looked up a car or created a new car. So I'm going to say if the assistant function dot has _ car, that's why we wrote that method, then what we're going to do is call a function here. Otherwise, we're going to call a different function. This allows us to essentially branch into two different paths where we tell the LLM to do something different. So what I can do is I can say define find _ profile, and I'm going to take in message, which is a string. Then I'm going to say session dot conversation dot, and this is going to be item dot create. And same thing as before, what I'm going to do is take in an LLM dot chat, and this is a chat message. Okay, and we're going to say role is equal to system, and we're going to say the content is equal to, and then I'm going to provide some specific content here. I'm then going to say session dot response dot create. Okay, now I'm going to make another function. Don't worry, we'll discuss these more in 1 second. And this other function is going to be called handle _ query. Now, same thing as before, it's going to have this time a user message, and the user message is just going to be the message dot content. Okay, now what we're going to do is if we already have a car, we're just going to handle whatever the user's query is. So we're going to call handle query, and we're going to pass message like this. Okay, this is the user's message. And actually, that reminds me, I need to change the parameter type here to be LLM.chatMessage because that's what this is. Okay, so let's fix that. All right, so if we have the car, we're going to handle the query. Otherwise, we're going to say find profile. And same thing, we're going to pass the message. The reason being, I don't want to allow us to redirect the user to some other department or to have them talk to someone until they give us the details about their car. So whether they make the new profile for us or they look up the new profile with us, we want to encourage them to do that first before we route them into this second response. Now, both of these functions here, you can do whatever you want, but in my case, I'm just going to provide a custom message to the user saying, hey, like we need to collect your profile before we're able to move on. And then here for the handle query, I just generate using the original system message, any response. So I just pass in whatever their content was, and then we reply to that. But I could, again, put a custom message here, and then I could continue and keep branching. And if I wanted to, in the handle query, I could ask them a series of more questions before I then move them into whatever the next step is, whether that's talking to a real person, asking them to come into the showroom, whatever it may be, right? But this is the branching system you can set up where you have different functions that are handling the different types of requests that the user has based on some state. In this situation, the state is if the user has already told us information about their car or not. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to prompts, and I'm just going to copy in another prompt here that we're going to use to handle looking up the user's VIN. So this is going to be a function. It says lookup VIN message. It takes some message parameter, and it just says if the user has provided a VIN, attempt to look it up. If they don't have a VIN or the VIN doesn't exist in the database, create the entry, blah, blah, blah. You get the idea. And then we embed the user's message. Great. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pass that here. So we need to import that. So I'm going to import the lookup VIN message. And for my content, this is going to be lookup VIN message as a function. And then I'm going to pass in my message. Okay. So what that's going to do is then generate that string for me, or the prompt that we pass to the LLM. So that should be it for our AI agent. We can stop this and we can rerun it. And we can now test this out and see if it works. So let's go back to our agent playground and let's connect.
Welcome to our auto service center. Could you please provide the VIN of your vehicle, or let me know if you'd like to create a profile for your car?
The VIN is V12345.
It appears that we don't have a profile for a vehicle with the VIN V12345. Would you like to create a profile for your car? If so, please provide the make, model, and year of your vehicle.
Sure. My vehicle is a Jeep Wrangler 2021.
Your Jeep Wrangler 2021 has been successfully registered in our system. How can I assist you further with your vehicle today?
Can I schedule a service appointment?
I can help you with that. Please let me know your preferred date and time for the service, along with any specific concerns or services you'd like to address.
Okay, sweet. So it seems like that's working. I just want to go and look at the logs and see if it did create it with the correct VIN or not. So I'm going to scroll through here and let's see if we can find this. Okay, user data, create car, and yes, perfect. It used the correct VIN this time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to disconnect and reconnect, and I'm going to see if it can look up this VIN for me. I just want to test that feature. So let's go back. Let's disconnect. Let's rejoin so we get kind of the agent in the new state, and let's see if we can look up that VIN.
Welcome to our auto service center. Could you please provide the VIN of your vehicle, or let me know if you'd like to create a new profile?
Can you look up the VIN V12345?
It seems that we don't have a vehicle with that VIN in our records. Would you like to create a new profile for your car?
What is the VIN that you looked up?
The VIN I attempted to look up is 1HGCM 8263-3A123456. If that's not correct, please provide the correct VIN, or let me know if you'd like to create a new profile.
Please look up exactly V12345.
Thank you for providing the VIN. I have found the details for your vehicle. Make, Jeep. Model, Wrangler. Year, 2021. How can I assist you further with your Jeep Wrangler today?
Okay, sweet. So that's what I wanted to test, guys. Sorry for going back and forth there. It looks like I just need to be specific, or because I'm not giving a valid VIN, it's attempting to like shortcut it and look up a VIN that contains those characters. Obviously, that's not what we want, so we could add some more specific instructions to the prompt. But for now, it's fine. It is able to look it up, right? And it found that information. And if we come back here, we should be able to see the log. If we look at user data, look up car V12345, and then it gets that data. Okay, sweet. So that is it for the AI agent. Now it's time to actually implement this on the front end. All right, so now we are moving on to the front end. Now, first things first, I just want to take all of this backend code and just put it in a folder called Backend just to clean things up a little bit. So that's going to involve me stopping my agent from running right now. So let's quit that. And let's just grab all of these files and throw them inside of Backend. I'm going to throw my virtual environment inside of there as well. Okay, sweet. So that is inside of Backend. Next thing we need to do is create the front end folder. Also, I can delete this PyCache folder for right now. Okay, let's get rid of that. And let's move to make our front end. So to make our front end, we're going to use React. Specifically, we're going to do that with Vite, at least for the command. So I'm going to type npm create Vite at latest. Okay, and then this is going to be front end dash dash and then dash dash template and then React. Now, in order for this to work, you do need npm installed on your system. You don't need to be a pro in React here, but obviously I'm not going to walk through all of the React code. This is more just to show you how to get the voice assistant connected, the tokens, all of that kind of stuff. By the way, you can do this with pretty much any front end that you want. So I'm doing it here with React, but if we go back to the LiveKit documentation here and we go, for example, let's go home. Let's try to find the front end stuff. I'm just going to go front end, integrating with your front end. If we click into this here, you'll see that we have a lot of different options. You can do with Android, you can do with Swift, you can do with React. There should be a lot of other options as well. In fact, actually, let's go back here and let's go SDK Quick Start. And there you go. So we have web SDKs for Next, React, JavaScript, and Unity. You have native SDKs for Swift, Android Compose, Android Flutter, React Native Expo, and there's other SDKs as well. So if you want to learn how to do this for a different front end, you can just go to this documentation here and you can click into it. I just followed along with the React documentation here, and that's where you'll see a lot of this code comes from. Obviously, I just made it a little bit more custom, so I'm going to walk you through that now. Okay, sweet. So let's go back here. Now what we're going to do is cd into front end. We're going to type npm install, and then we can run the server. But we do need to install a few dependencies for LiveKit as well. Okay, so let's wait for that to finish. Okay, so now we're going to run this command here, npm install at livekit/components-react at livekit/components-styles, and then the LiveKit client, and we are going to save that. Again, this comes directly from the LiveKit documentation. So let's go ahead and run that, install those dependencies that we need. And let me close this file while we're at it. Okay, so while that runs, I'm going to go into my front end folder and I'm going to start setting a few things up. Specifically, I'm going to create a few components that we'll need, and I'm going to bring in some CSS styles that I've already written, which again, you can find from that GitHub link in the description. I just don't want to bore you by, focusing too much on front end when really you guys care about the voice assistant integration. So in my SRC file here, I can go ahead and delete my assets. I'm not going to need that. I can delete the public folder as well. I'm not going to need that one. And then we can continue from there. So inside of my app.jsx, I'm just going to clear all of this out. I'm going to remove the state. I'm going to remove the import to the React logo and the Vite logo. And I'm going to make a new folder inside of SRC called components. Okay, now inside of components, I'm just going to have two. We're going to keep this nice and simple. One is going to be the LiveKit modal. This is the thing that's going to pop up when we want to connect to LiveKit. And I'm going to call this JSX. Okay. Then I'm going to make the the simple, if we can spell simple correctly, voice assistant. And this is going to be .jsx. That's going to handle the logic for the voice assistant. And then I'm going to do the same thing for CSS. I'm going to say simple voice assistant .css. And that's all we need for now. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy in a bunch of CSS styles here. Again, you can find this from the link in the description in the GitHub. So just go there to the GitHub, look in the components folder. You can see the simple voice assistant CSS, copy it into this file, right? For the app.css, same thing. I have some custom CSS, so I'm going to copy it into this file. And then same thing for the index.css, I have some as well. So I'm going to copy that into this file. Okay, so now we have index, app, and simple voice assistant CSS completed. And now what we can do is move on to writing some of the code. So what I'm going to start with is my app.jsx. Inside app.jsx, I'm just going to write a very simple landing page. You can make this really anything that you want, and then we'll move on to actually implementing the LiveKit components. Keep in mind that LiveKit has all kinds of documentation here, and if I go back, you can see that what we're using is some components from LiveKit, which will handle things like rendering the audio for us, rendering the video for us, multiple tracks, sharing participants. If we actually go into the React components, they have a whole library of documentation here. It explains how to do a bunch of stuff, shows all of the components that they have, like bar visualizers, chat entry, focus layout. So if you do really want to make a more advanced front end, obviously check this out here, and you can use a lot of the pre-built stuff, which is kind of what we're doing here. Okay. So let's go back, and what we're going to do is we're going to start by defining some state. So we're going to say const show support, and then set show support is going to be equal to use state, and we're just going to make this equal to false. This is what will show the support modal on screen. We're then going to create a div here. So we're going to say div, and this is going to be class name equal to app. And then inside of app, we're going to have a simple header. This will be class name equal to header. Inside of the header, we'll have a div. We'll say this is class name equal to logo. And then we're just going to call this AutoZone. That's the name of my website. Okay. Then we're going to have a main section. For the main section, we'll have a section. This will be class name equal to hero, which will be like the top section on the page. And then we can just put in some kind of placeholder text here. So we'll just have an H1 and we'll say get the right parts. Okay. And we'll say right now. That can be our slogan with the correct capitalization. Then we can have a simple paragraph tag and we can say free next day delivery on eligible orders. Okay, eligible. How do you spell this? Let's fix that here. There we go. Better at coding than spelling. Next, we'll just have a simple search bar. Say class name is equal to search dash bar. Inside of here, we're just going to have an input field. Okay, we're going to say type is equal to text. And we'll say the placeholder is equal to enter vehicle. Let's spell this correct. Part number. Or we'll say vehicle or part number. Okay, sweet. And then we'll just have a simple button. Then we're pretty much done here. We're going to say button search. Okay, and then outside of the section, but still in the main, I'm just going to make another button, which will float in the bottom right. This is going to say class name equal support dash BTN, or it should be actually fully spelt button. And then here we're going to say talk to an agent, exclamation point, and we're going to have an on click handler here. Okay, which will allow us to talk to the agent. So what we're going to do here is just have a function, and we're going to say const handle support click. Okay, and what this is going to do is say set show support equal to true. Okay, and then we're just going to use this, and we're going to say handle support click. So the idea here is that when you press this button, it's going to set this state to true, and then we're going to open up a modal, which is going to get you to enter your details, like your name, and then you can connect to the LiveKit room. So what we're going to do now is we're going to design the LiveKit modal. So we're going to go into this component here. Let's start writing that out. So we're going to say import, and this is going to say use state, and then use callback, okay, from React. We then are going to import some LiveKit components. So we're going to say import the LiveKit room and the room audio renderer from, and this is going to be at LiveKit /components -react. And we need to spell this correct. Okay. Next, we're going to say import, and we're going to import these styles. So we're going to say at LiveKit components -styles. We then I believe actually that's it. And then we'll have one other import, but we don't have the component written yet, so we don't need that now. Okay, then we're going to say const LiveKit modal. We're going to take in our set show support. Okay, so that we can close this modal if they press the X button. This will be a function. And then what we'll do here is we'll start defining some of the information that we need in order to, render the LiveKit room. So first things first, we're going to say const, and we're going to use a bit of state here. We're going to say is submitting name set is submitting name. Okay, this is going to be equal to use state, and this will be false. We then need to know what the user's name actually is. So we're going to say name, and then set name is equal to use state, and this will be an empty string. Okay, after that, we're just going to do a little bit of CSS here to kind of create a modal that allows the user to enter their name and then connect into the LiveKit room. So we're going to say return. We're going to render a div. We're going to say class name is equal to, and this will be the modal dash overlay. We're then going to make another div, and we're going to say this is class name equal to the modal dash content. We're then going to have another div, and this is going to be the class name equal to the support dash room. Okay, then we're going to say, are we submitting the name? So if we are submitting the name, then what we want to do is prompt the user to enter their name. So if is submitting name, we're going to have a form. We're going to say on submit. Okay, and this is going to be equal to, and we'll have a function here in a second. And we're going to say the class name is equal to name dash form. Inside of the form, we're going to have an h2, and we're going to say enter your name to connect with support. We're then just going to have an input and some buttons. Okay, so we're going to have input. For the input, we're going to have type is equal to text. We're going to have the value equal to name. We're going to have the on change equal to, and we're going to take an e, and then we're going to set the name. So we're going to say set name e.target.value. Okay, and then we'll have the placeholder equal to your name, and then we're just going to define required. And let me just format this so that we're able to read it. So let's go format documents. Why is that not working? It's because we have some issue here. Okay, it's because I don't have the else statement for my if here. So let me just render a fragment, and then we need to add the onSubmit function as well. Sorry, I'm just trying to get this to format, guys, but it won't format if there's an error, so I need to fix the error. So for the error, we're just going to say const handle, and then this is going to be name submit is equal to this, and then we can just pass the function handle name submit, and now I can format my document. Okay, so you can see we have, if we're submitting the name, then what we're going to do is render this form. I'm not finished the form. I'll write that in 1 second. Otherwise, we will render this. Okay, so for the rest of the form, we're going to say button, and this is going to say connect, and we're going to have the type equal to submit. So when we press this, it will then call this function here in the form. We're then going to have another button. We're going to say type is equal to button, and we're going to say the class name is equal to the cancel and then button, and we're going to have on click is equal to, and what this is going to do is call the set show support with false. Okay, so this set show support is the function that's in our app.jsx. So we'll then no longer render the LiveKit modal, which we'll be rendering in just 1 second. And actually, let's just add some text to the button so you can actually see it. So it says cancel now. Okay, and then we will format again. All right, great. Now, if we are not showing the form, that means that we've already submitted the name. Then what we're going to do is we're going to show the LiveKit room. Okay, now the LiveKit room is where we can render the audio and we can show all of the LiveKit related components. So for that, we're going to say LiveKit room, which we imported from LiveKit. And there are a bunch of different props that we need to pass to this in order for it to work. So the first prop that we need is the server URL. For now, we're going to leave that blank, but we will fill that in a second. We're then going to need the token. Same thing, we're going to leave that blank. This is a connection token or an authorization token. We're then going to say connect is equal to true. This means that as soon as the room is rendered, we're by default going to connect to it. Then we can specify if we want to display video or not. In this case, I don't want video, so I'm going video false. And then I want audio, so I'm going to say audio is true. Then I need to have an on disconnected function here, which we'll call when we disconnect from the room. So when we disconnect from the room, we're going to say set show support to false, which means we're no longer going to show the modal. And we're going to say set is submitting name to true. Okay, this means that when we come back into this component, we will be able to submit the user's name. Now inside of here, what we're gonna do is we're gonna render the room audio renderer. This will actually display the audio or allow us to hear the audio. And then what we'll also need to do is render a few other components for controlling the audio. So things like muting our microphone, showing the different input sources, showing the waveform of the agent's audio, showing the text data. We're gonna write that component in 1 second, but this is kind of stubbing what we need for the LiveKit room. Okay, so before we go any further, I do want to test this. In order to do that, I'm going to export this component. So I'm going to say export default, and then this is the LiveKit modal. And then I'm going to go to app.jsx, and I'm going to render this modal here at the bottom of the screen. So in order to do that, I'm going to go outside of this div, and I'm going to say if show support. So show support and then we're going to show the LiveKit modal, and we're going to pass to this set show support is equal to set show support. Now the LiveKit modal was automatically imported for us from /components. So in order to run this and see if it works, I'm going to type npm run dev. Now this should run this on localhost. So let's open it up, and you can see that we have our website. And if we press on this button, it looks like there's an issue with the modal. So probably just a problem with my CSS, or for some reason it's not appearing correctly. So let me see what that problem is, and I'll be right back. So silly mistake, we just need to set the is submitting name to true because we want that to be the default state so that it shows us the form and not the LiveKit room, because in this case it was showing the LiveKit room, which is not going to work right now because we haven't connected it. So now if I press this, you can see that it shows me this. There's some CSS related issue, but the cancel button is working. So let me try to fix that CSS. I probably just misspelled a class name or something so that it will appear. And of course, the modal was spelt as model, not modal. So let's fix that, replace the E with an A. And if we come back and we refresh and we click on this, you can see that now we have the modal and everything is working. And if we press connect, then if we fill in the name, so let's do this here, you can see that it just quits out because the LiveKit room's not working right now, but you get the idea. Okay, so now if we want to actually connect to the LiveKit room, what we need to do is get the LiveKit URL as well as a token, and I'm going to discuss how the token works. Okay, so first things first, we're going to go here and we're going to make a new environment variable file in our front end. So we're going to call this .env. Now in .env, we're going to pass a variable. It's important. It's called exactly this, which is the vite LiveKit _ URL. Now this needs to be the same as what we had in our backend. So we can just go copy it and take this WSS URL. Okay, so let's take that and paste that here for the LiveKit URL. So that's how we know what LiveKit project to connect to, but we also need to have a token. Now, we're going to discuss the token in a second, I promise. For now, though, let's add the server URL to our LiveKit room. So in order to do that, we can just do a set of brackets here, curly braces, whatever you want to call them. And then we are simply going to write the following: import.meta.env.vite _ LiveKit _ URL. Okay, so this is how you import an environment variable inside of React, or specifically with Vite. So that will import the server URL, and then we need a token. Now the token is essentially our access credentials, right? It's the ability to connect to this room. We don't just want anyone to be able to connect to any of our rooms. So in order for us to connect from our front end to the LiveKit server, we need to have some kind of access credential. Now, if we're just testing this, we can get like a set of credentials that only last about 15 minutes that we can use to test this out. However, in a more production environment, what we want to do is we want to have a backend server that issues us new credentials anytime we want to connect to a room, and then we have complete control of who is able to connect. So the basic idea is that if you want to connect to LiveKit, you need an access token. The access token should be generated from a backend server, and typically in order for that to work, you'd want the user to be authenticated, right? So maybe they would sign into the web page and then they'd be issued a token. In our case, we just want anyone to be able to connect to the room, so we can just issue a token to anyone, but that token will specify what room they're able to connect to. So with LiveKit, you can have multiple different rooms and you can have multiple sessions going on at the same time. We might not want someone to be able to join room A, but maybe we want them to be able to join room B. So we can issue them a token that only gives them access to that specific room. And then when they use that token to connect, it will bring them into that room. Hopefully that makes a little bit of sense. Again, it will be more clear in a minute, but for now, we're going to get a temporary token that will allow us access to the LiveKit room to test this on our front end. And then I'm going to show you the more permanent solution, which is writing a very slim backend server, which will issue the tokens for us. So I'm going to go to my car service center, and I'm going to go to settings and keys, which is the page I'm already on. Okay. So go to your project, go to settings, go to keys in LiveKit Cloud. Then you're just going to click on the key you're using. I believe mine is this, the Windows machine, and you're going to press generate token. Now you just need to give this name. Okay, so you can see here that we've specified the username of the person that this token will be used for and the room that we want them to join. And then we have the permissions. So if they can participate and publish tracks, they can subscribe to tracks, if they can publish data. So for example, we could issue a token that would allow someone to join but not to talk, right? And you can, check all of these different boxes and change the permissions. So I'm just going to generate this token with all of the permissions allowed. It's going to give it to me, and I'm going to copy it. And this is what I'm going to use now in Vite, okay, or in React. So I'm just going to take the token and I'm just going to paste it here as my token to my LiveKit room. And now this will actually allow me to join the room and hear the audio. Okay, so now that we have the token, we could test this out, but I'm realizing that nothing's going to happen at this point because we're not displaying anything on the screen, and we're also not running our agent. So before we go further, I don't want to jump the gun here. What I want to do is I want to just write this simple voice assistant component, which will display some stuff on the screen so we can actually see what's going on, and we know that this is indeed working. So I'm sorry that we're not able to test it right now, just we need some more components first. So bear with me and let's get a few things on the page. So I'm going to say import use, and then this is going to be voice assistant from LiveKit Components React. We're going to import the bar visualizer, which will allow us to visualize the waveform. We're going to import the voice assistant control bar, the use track, and this is going to be transcription, and the use local participant. And let me just format this so you guys are able to read it. Okay, so these are some of the hooks and components that we're going to use. We're then going to import track, and this is going to come from the LiveKit client, and we're going to import the use effect and the use state. Okay, we're then going to import the CSS, so we're going to say import dot slash and then simple voice assistant dot CSS. Okay, great. Next thing, we're going to make our components. So we're going to say const and then simple voice assistant, and this will be equal to a component function. And inside of here, what we're going to do is we're going to display all of the audio messages as text, right? All of the transcriptions. But before we do all of that, let's simply just try to render the control bar, just get something else on the page so that we can see something going on. So let's render a div. We'll give this a class name, which will be equal to the voice dash assistant dash container. And let's make sure this is returned from the component. Okay. Then we're going to have another div. We're going to say class name is equal to, and this is going to be the visualizer dash container. Inside of here, we're going to put the bar visualizer, but we'll do that in 1 second. We're then going to have another div, and this is going to be class name is equal to the control section. And in the control section, we're going to display the voice assistant control bar, which is just a pre-made component that provides a bunch of controls for us. We're then going to have a div. We're going to say class name is equal to conversation. Okay. And for the conversation, then we're going to render all of the different messages. Now that's all we need for now. We're going to export this. So we're going to say export default, and then this will be the simple voice assistant. And for now, this should work. This should show us something on screen. I could be wrong, but let's try it out. So let's go to our LiveKit modal and let's bring in the simple voice assistant. So we're going to say import simple voice assistant from simple voice assistant, and let's put this beneath the room audio render. Okay, so simple voice assistant. Now let's go back. Let's refresh. Let's go talk to an agent. Let's give a name, and let's see if this works. All right, so silly mistake, but we are forgetting to set the is submitting name. So I'm going to say set is submitting name to false, like that. So now hopefully this will actually do something for us and we'll be able to test this. Okay, so let's refresh. Let's go talk to agent. Let's go name, connect. And okay, so nothing's happening, but we were able to get to this page. And then I can disconnect and it closes. That's what we're looking for. The reason nothing's happening is because we're not running our agent. So we're able to connect to the room, but then we don't have any agent that's connecting to the room with us. So that's going to be the next step. run our agent, and then hopefully we'll get some audio output. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to cd out of this, and now I'm going to activate my virtual environment again in my backend. So I'm going to cd into backend. I'm going to say ./AI/scripts/activate because I'm on Windows, and I'm going to go Python agent dev. Okay, now that's going to run our agent for us. And now the agent is running. And now what should happen is when I connect to my room, the agent will connect as well. So let's try this. Talk to an agent. Let's go name Tim and connect.
Welcome to our auto service center. How can I assist you today? If you have a specific question or need help, please provide the VIN of your vehicle. If you don't have a profile yet, just let me know, and we can create one for you.
Hi, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thank you for asking.
Okay, sweet. So you can see that that's working. Now, what I did to get that to work, I just paused the video quickly, is I just need to restart my front-end server because we had added this value in the environment variable file, but because we hadn't restarted the server, it wasn't loaded by Vite yet. So when I first connected, I wasn't getting anything, and that's because we hadn't restarted the server. So when I restarted the server, everything worked, and you can see now the voice assistant is connecting, and if you go look at the logs of the voice assistant, you can see everything that's happening here, right? Like what the agent is saying and all this kind of stuff. Okay, perfect. So now we want to continue building the front end, and I want to make this simple voice assistant look a little bit better, and I want it to display specifically all of the text that is being said by both the person and the voice assistant. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a new component called message. Now this is going to take in the type and the text of the message and just display it on screen. So we're just going to say div class name is equal to message. We're going to have a strong tag here, and this is just going to be the person's name. So we're going to say class name is equal to message and then dash, and then this is going to be the $, and then in brackets type, and we're just going to put this inside a set of backticks actually so that this works. So let's fix that, and then this needs to go inside set of braces. Okay, there we go. So that's our class name. Let's fix that. And then we're going to have the following here. We're going to say type is equal to agent, question mark. Then we're going to say agent. Otherwise, we're going to say you, colon, like that. Okay. So that this is like the prefix of the message. And then we're going to have a span. And for the span, we're going to have class name is equal to the message dash text. And then we're going to put the text of the message. Okay, just a simple subcomponent here for displaying our messages. Now we want to get the transcription from our participants. So to do this, we're going to say const state and then audio track and then agent transcription is equal to use voice assistant. So the use voice assistant hook will look for the first agent participant in the room. You could have multiple agents, by the way, but we're just having one. And then it's going to get the state of the agent, which will tell you if it's connecting, if it's talking, if it's listening. So you can actually use this state variable if you want to see that state. You'll get the audio track from the agent itself, and then the live transcription of what the agent is saying, okay? And that's what use voice assistant does. Now we'll have the track from the agent, but we also need to get the track from the person or the participant, which is us. So to do that, we're going to say const local participant is equal to use local participant. Same thing, this is going to get the local participant for us, right? And give us all this information, like is this information enabled, all that kind of stuff, right? And the local participant reference itself, which is what we want. Okay, next, we're going to say const, and then this is going to be segments, colon, and then user transcription is equal to use track transcription. Now for use track transcription, this will give us the transcription of any track. In this case, we want the local participants track. So we're going to pass inside of here publication, and this is going to be the local participant dot microphone track. Okay. Then we need to provide the source. The source of this is going to be track dot source dot microphone. And then we need to give the participant itself. So we're going to say participant is equal to local participant dot local participant. I know it's a little bit confusing. You can find this in the docs, but this is how you get the local participant's transcription. We're then going to have some state, and we're going to say const messages is equal to this, and then set messages is equal to use state, and this is going to be an empty array. Okay, so now at this point, we will have the agent transcription and the user's transcription segments. And what we're going to do is just have a simple use effect hook, which is going to look to see if any of these are changing and then update the messages with those transcriptions. So we're going to say const, or sorry, not const, we're going to say use effect like this. Okay, we're going to have our function. And then we're going to have our dependency array, and the dependency array will be the agent transcription or the user transcription. So if either of these changes, then we want to use this use effect hook. We're going to say const in here, all messages is equal to, and then we are going to unpack here, or what do you call this? The 3 dots. I can't remember the name of it, but you guys know what I'm talking about. We're going to say agent transcription question mark dot map, and then this is going to be t colon equals, and then bear with me here, we're going to say dot 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 t, and then type colon agent, okay, and then we're going to have question mark empty array in case that doesn't exist. Then we will do the same thing, except this is going to be the user transcription, and then the type is going to be user. Okay, then we are going to sort these. So we're going to say dot sort a comma b. We're going to say a dot first, and this will be received time minus b dot first received time. And did I spell received correctly? Of course I did not. So let's fix the spelling. Okay, so what is going on here? What we're doing is we're getting all of the messages from the agent transcription and from the user transcription. Now this comes in an array, and it is like the sentences that they're saying. So you'll see the agent will say one sentence, and it will say the next sentence, and it will say the next one, and it's kind of streaming in these different replies. So we're grabbing all of those, and we're just mapping these and adding the type to all of the different messages. That's what we're doing for the agent or for the user. Then we combine these together, and we sort them by the first received time, so we know who talked when, and we have the correct order on screen. Then we say set messages, all messages. And we just keep running this effect anytime the agent or the user says something. That's all that's happening. Okay, so that is our messages hook. Now that we have that, we can just start displaying some stuff visually. So we can display the track of the agent. So I can say bar visualizer, and I can say state is equal to state. And let's fix this and close the component. I can say, what else do we need here? The bar count is equal to 7. So if you want it to be wider, you can add more bars, or like if you want to change the look of it, you can change the number of bars that you're using. You can say the track reference is equal to the audio track, which is coming from here, this use voice assistant hook, right? Okay, so that will display the voice assistant's audio. You can do the same thing for the participant. We're just going to do with the voice assistant. Next, in our conversation, we're just going to display all of our messages. So we can just say messages.map, and we're going to say message dash index, okay? And then this is going to map to a new message component. And for the message, we're going to say key is equal to the message.id, or the index here in case there's no ID. We're going to say the type is equal to message.type, and we're going to say the text is equal to msg.text. Okay, so that should be it for the message. And now everything should be displaying properly, assuming our token is still valid. If not, we'll get a new token. I'll show you that in a second. So let's refresh this, talk to an agent named Tim. Let's see if it works. So we got some error there. I assume that's because our token is expired. And yes, we got a 401 issue. So this is what I was talking about before. This token that I generated, let me go back to where I get the token here, only lasts for 900 seconds. Now that's because this is meant to be used temporarily. And if you want a more permanent solution, you're supposed to issue the token yourself. So what we'll do for testing now is we'll generate a new token. Okay, so I'm going to generate this token. And this is now a new fresh token that we can use. But again, it will expire in 900 seconds. So it's not a permanent solution, but for testing, that's a fine way to do it, okay? So now I'm just going to replace this token here with this new one. And if we go back here and we refresh and talk to an agent, now ideally this should work. Let's try it.
Welcome to our auto service center. Could you please provide the VIN of your car, vehicle identification number of your car? If you don't have an existing profile with us, just let me know and we can create one for you.
Sweet, so that is working. However, the messages are not showing
Please
up.
provide me with the
So let me disconnect here and let's see what we did wrong with displaying the messages. All right, so silly mistake here, but I need to call this agent transcriptions, plural, and then this needs to be agent transcriptions, and then user transcriptions here as well. I just forgot the S, so that's why we weren't getting the transcriptions from the agent. So if I come back here, refresh, try again, this should work now. So let's go Tim and run this. And we got an error. Okay, so let's see what the error is. And there is an error occurring. Agent transcription is not defined. Okay, so where did we have agent transcription? That's right here. So let's fix this to be agent transcriptions and user transcriptions. Apologies, guys, just a silly spelling mistake there. Try again and see.
Welcome to our auto service center. How can I assist you today? If you could please provide the VIN of your vehicle, I'll be able to look up your profile and assist you further.
Okay, so a silly mistake here where it's not displaying the messages. I forgot to return the div from this message component. Of course, that would be the issue. Anyways, now that we're returning that, if we go back here and we go talk to an agent and we go Tim and connect, let's see if this works.
Welcome to our auto service center. Could you please provide the VIN of your vehicle so I can look up?
Okay, so that's working. Now, the reason you were getting that 0 popping up is I was just debugging to see if the messages were actually working properly, and they are. So anyways, you can see now the messages are appearing. So this is working. We pretty much have finished the front end. The only thing that we need to do now is deal with our tokens. So like I said, what needs to happen is we need to write our own server that can issue the tokens to our front end. This gives us more control over the tokens and allowing people to join the different rooms. So we're gonna go ahead and do that now from our backend. So in our backend, I'm gonna make a new file called server.py. Now inside of here, we're just gonna write a really simple Flask server that will allow us to issue the tokens to the front end. So just bear with me while I write this out. It's about 40 lines of code, and then I will show you how we call this and how we dynamically get tokens and how you can kind of have some more control over the rooms that are being created. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to say import OS. Okay, I'm going to say from LiveKit import API. I'm going to say from Flask import Flask and request. I'm going to say from .env import load.env. I'm going to say from Flask _ cores import, and this will be cores in all capitals. I'm going to say from livekit.api import the LiveKit API. I'm going to say from LiveKit and actually we already have this, so we can just say list rooms request, and I'm going to say import UUID, and this needs to be in lower cases. Okay, this will allow us to create a unique identifier. Now, all of these we already have installed in requirements, so as long as we're using our Python virtual environment when we run the server, then we'll be fine. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to say load.env, and I'm going to say app is equal to Flask, and for the app, we always initialize with _ name. Then we're going to say cores, and we're going to wrap our app, and we're going to pass resources like this, and it's going to be equal to the following regular expression string. So bear with me here. This is going to be r : / colon, and then we're going to have origins : *. Now what I'm doing is I'm just specifying that we're going to allow any other domain to access this backend. You usually don't want to do this, but I'm just making it explicit here that we'll allow anything to access it so that we don't get any cross-origin request issues, okay? Or resource sharing issues, whatever it's referred to as. You guys have probably seen before, if you try to send a request from a backend, or sorry, from a front end to a backend and they're not on the same origin, then you can get this cores error. That's what this module is going to fix for us so that you don't get that when you run this server. Okay, now all we need to do is run the server and make a simple route that will issue a new access token from LiveKit. It's very easy to do this, but just bear with me. I'm going to say if name is equal to _ main _ then we're going to say app.run. We'll run this on host. So let's go host here equal to 0.0.0.0. We're going to run this on port equal to 5001. And we'll just say debug equals true, so that if we make any changes when we're running this, it'll automatically be updated. Now we're going to define a single route in this backend, and this route is going to be /get token, okay? And all this is going to do is just issue a new access token, which will allow the user to connect to a new room. Now, you have a lot of things you can do here with the LiveKit API on the backend. You can list all of the rooms that exist. You can delete a room. You can create a new room. You can list the different participants. And you can imagine that if you were creating a more complex system here with the AI agent and you wanted to have multiple people, for example, in the same room, that's where you would do this. You would set this up on your backend server so you really have complete control. So what I'm showing you is a basic implementation. Keep that in mind. So what I'm going to do here is define an async function, and it's going to be called getToken. Okay, now what this is going to do, and actually let's go get _token to stick with Python convention, is we're going to get the name and the room that the user wants to connect to. So we're going to say name is equal to request.args.get, and it's going to say name, and then we'll just say my name as the default if you don't pass anything. Then we're going to say room is equal to request.args.get, and then room, otherwise none. Now, the idea here is that we're going to allow the user to pass as query parameters, so the things that come after the question mark in the URL, the name and the room. The name is their name, so we can identify the participant, and then the room is the room they want to connect to if they have a specific room they want to connect to. So that's something that we can do. We can allow people to connect to the same room. Now, we're not going to do that right now, but that is something you could do. We're going to say if not room, then room is equal to, and we're going to call a function that I'll write in 1 second, which will be generate room name. So anytime that you want to issue a new access token, you need to give a name or an identifier for the room that you want the user to join. In our case, anytime someone presses that button, we want to put them in a new room, like a random room name, so that they're talking to, a new AI agent. Because again, you can have multiple people in the same room, but if you did that, then they would be in the same conversation chain as that AI agent that already existed in the room. I understand it's a little bit confusing. You'll see what I mean in a second. So we're going to write this function in a sec, and then we're going to say token is equal to API. This is the LiveKit API, right? Dot access token, and we're going to load in 2 variables. So we're going to say os.get env, and we're going to load the LiveKit _API _key. Okay, and let's copy this. We're going to load the LiveKit API secret. Okay, then I'm going to go down to the next line, and I'm going to say dot with _identity. The identity will be their name. We'll go down to the next line. Okay, and we're going to say dot, and this is going to be with _name, the name. We'll go down to the next line, and we'll say dot with _grants. This is the permissions, and the permission will be API dot video grants. And for the video grants, we're going to say room _join is equal to true, and the room is equal to the room. Okay, so this is just the default way to generate an access token. What this is going to do is it's going to use the credentials that we have for our project, our API key and our API secret. It's going to identify the user with this name and this identity. You can change the identity and the name if you want, but that's what we'll use for now. And it's going to give them permission to just join this room. That's all we're doing. There's more granular permissions that you can provide here, but that's what we're doing with this token. Then we can return the token.to_JWT, which is a JWT token. All right, so now we just need to write this generate room and name function. So to do that, we're going to write 2 functions. We're going to say async define generate _room _name. Okay, for the name, we're going to say name is equal to room dash plus. And then we're going to take the string of a uuid.uuid4, and we're just going to grab the first 8 characters of that. This is going to create a unique identifier for us. It's not always guaranteed to be unique if we just grab the first 8 characters, but in our case, this is totally fine. So we're just saying room and then some random string associated with it. Now we're going to just make sure that this room is actually unique. So we're going to say rooms is equal to await get rooms, which is a function we're going to write in 1 second, which will get all of the rooms from LiveKit. And we're going to say while the name is in rooms, then we're just going to generate a new name. Okay, so we're going to go here and generate it again. Then we're going to return the name. So what we're doing is we're generating this name for the room. We're hoping it's going to be random. We're going to look at all the rooms that currently exist. If this name does exist in the rooms, it means it's not random. So we're going to generate another one and keep going until we do get a random name. Okay, next, we're going to say async define get underscore rooms. And for this, we're going to get all of the rooms currently active. So you can do that by saying API is equal to LiveKit API. We can say rooms is equal to await API.room.list underscore rooms. And then we pass to this the list room request. Then I can say await API.close to shut it down. And I can return a list of these rooms. So I can say list, and then this is going to be room name for room in rooms, or rooms, yeah, rooms.rooms. And actually, we don't need to wrap this in a list because it's already going to be a list. So all we're doing here is we're using the LiveKit API. From the LiveKit API, you have a bunch of different operations you can perform. For example, one of them here is listing the rooms that currently exist. You also can delete a room, you can add a room, you can do all that kind of stuff. You can see the participants that are in rooms. So I'm just showing you one simple example with the API, but again, there's a lot more that you can do. We grab all of the room names, and then we'll use that in the generate room name function. Okay. So that should be it for our Flask backend server. Essentially what happens now is because we've used our credentials from LiveKit, when we run this, if we send a request to get token, it will generate a random room name for us unless we've provided a room that we'd like to connect to. And then it will allow us to connect to that using the token from our front end. So now all we need to do is send the request from the front end to the back end. So first things first, let's run the back end. To run the back end, we'll need to make a new terminal. So let me just split this again. Let me go into my backend, so CD backend. Let me activate my virtual environment. I'm going to try to make this a little bit larger so you guys can see these commands. So ./AI/scripts/activate. Okay, let me just clear this. And then we're going to say Python server.py. Okay, great. So now the server is running and we have our agent running and we have our front end running as well. And these are kind of the three things that need to be running locally for this to work. Now what we can do is we can go back to our front end. So let's close all of this. And we're just going to send a request to the backend. So from our front end, we're going to go to vite.config.js and we're going to set up an API proxy. So here under plugins, we're going to say server and we're going to say proxy. For the proxy, we're going to have /API. And we're going to say that if you're sending a request to anything that starts with /API, we're going to change the target to be http://localhost port 5001, because that's the port of our Flask server. We're going to say change origin is true, and we're going to adjust the path. So we're going to say rewrite, and this is a function that takes the path and goes path.replace, and then we're going to use this regular expression string. Okay, so let me just write it out. API/ like this. Okay, so what is this doing? Essentially, all we're saying is, hey, if you try to go to any /API endpoint when you're sending a fetch request here, which you're going to see in 1 second, we want to send that request to 5001, which is our backend server. We will change the origin, so it's not whatever this is running on, it's just this server. And then we're going to rewrite the path so that we'll remove the /API component of it and just send to whatever comes after. Okay, this is required in order to send the request without getting a CORS error. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go to our, I believe it should be the LiveKit modal. And in the LiveKit modal, we are going to get a token as soon as this modal is opened up. So we're going to say const get token is equal to use callback, and we're going to have an async function. The async function is going to take in the user's name. Okay. And what it's going to do is send a request to the backend to retrieve the token. So it's going to say try const response is equal to await fetch. Okay. And we're going to try to fetch /API /get token, but we need to put these in backticks so that we're able to embed some query parameters. For our query parameters, we're going to say name is equal to, and then we're going to have a $, and we're going to say encode URI component, and we're going to pass the user's name. Okay. Now, after we do that, we're going to get the token from the response. So we're going to say const token is equal to await response.text, because we just reply with text, which is the token. And we're going to say set token, and we're going to add some state for storing our token. So we're going to say const token set token is equal to use state, and we'll make this an empty string for now. Or actually, we can make it null for now. Okay, so we're going to set the token, And then we're going to say set is submitting name equal to false. Okay. Otherwise, we're going to have a catch, and we can catch some error, and we can just log it in the terminal. So we can say console.error. Okay. And we can just show whatever that error message is. Okay. So this is our get token function. And what we're going to do now is under our handle name submit, we're going to change this to call the get token function. So we're going to say e.prevent default so that we don't refresh the page. And we're going to say if name.trim. Okay, so if you do pass a name, then we'll call this get token function with the user's name. All right, now this is a callback function, and what it's going to do is it's going to send a request, right? It's going to grab the token for us, and then we should be good to go. Now, we just need to do one thing. We need to change the token here now to be the token from our state. So that's coming from the backend. All right, token, sorry, I guess I spelled token incorrectly, so let's fix that. All right, so now token is there. And then we just need to make sure that we're only going to show this if the token is existing. So we're going to say question mark, token, question mark, and then down here, we're going to say colon and then null. So we're just saying, hey, if we're submitting the name, show this. If the token exists, show this. If the token doesn't exist, then just show null. So we'll take a second to render this because obviously we need to grab the token first from this request. So that should be it. Let's just make sure all of this is running still. Looks like it is. And let's go back now and see without hard coding our token if we're able to get this to work. So let me go talk to an agent, Tim, and then connect. And we got some problem. Something happened there. Or at least it's not showing the page. So let me look at what the issue is here. All right, so two silly mistakes here. I forgot to add the E to my handle submit, and I forgot to add the dependency array to my use callback. So because I didn't have the E, it was just refreshing the page, wasn't preventing the default behavior. So that's why this was not working. So if I go back here and I refresh now, and I go Tim and connect, we can see it takes a second. And then we got some issue. It says invalid authorization token. Okay, interesting that that token is not correct. However, it did look like it sent the request to the backend, and that's why. We got an issue in our backend server, so it never actually gave us the correct token. So let's go back to the backend server.py, and we need to change this here to say a close, not simply close. On line 24, await API.aClose. It's telling us that issue in the backend. Again, apologies guys, but this is just part of the development cycle, so that's why I leave it in. Let's go to talk to agent. Let's go back to Tim and connect and see if it works.
Welcome to our auto service center. Could you please provide me with the VIN, vehicle identification number of your car? If you don't have a profile yet, just let me know and we'll create one for you.
Can you make a profile, please?
I'd be happy to help you create a profile. Could you please provide the following details about your car?
Okay, perfect. So I'm going to disconnect from that because you can see that is indeed working. And now we are getting that token from the backend. So again, that is the advantage of using that backend server. You now have complete control, and you can do all kinds of fancy stuff if you really wanted to in terms of issuing the tokens, connecting people to the same room, all that kind of stuff. And now if multiple people press that button at the same time, they're all going to get different access tokens with access to different rooms. So they're all going to have their own instance of the AI agent running. They're not going to be using the same conversational chain. So that is something to keep in mind. So with that said, guys, that will pretty much wrap this up. I will let you know that if you do want to actually make this like a real call center, you can do that with LiveKit. So actually, if we go into the docs here, let's go to the real-time API. Let's go to the multimodal agent. There is a way that you can actually get it so you can call a phone number using something like Twilio and have it, actually respond to you on the phone. So you can see there's some stuff with the SIP trunking. If you go to this page in the docs, so agent/OpenAI/telephony, you can see kind of how this works. And you can make it so that, again, if you call a phone number, then your agent actually connects to that room, to the cell room, and starts talking to you. So you could literally make this work over the phone, not just on the front end UI, but obviously that's what I wanted to show you here because I imagine that's what most of you are looking for. All kinds of cool stuff you can do with LiveKit. This is obviously just scratching the surface. And if you want to see more tutorials on LiveKit, please do let me know by leaving a comment down below. And I'm sure we can team up again and do another cool tutorial for you guys and show you maybe even some more advanced behavior. So with that said, I am going to wrap it up here. I hope you guys enjoyed. All of this code will be available from the link in the description, and I look forward to seeing you in another video.